What is up, homies? Welcome back to another episode of the Heroes Reforged podcast. I'm going to tell you this now. We're going to spoil the shit out of Daredevil. So everyone who doesn't want to know anything about the first two episodes, plug your ear holes. The first two episodes at least have come out already.
Yes.
So I'm excited to get into it. But Hector, you brought a guest who has not seen the show.
Yeah, I'm sitting in...
What the fuck?
I'm sitting in Augustine's seat. He couldn't be here with us today because he had some stuff that he had to take care of, but... Thankfully, coming in clutch is my pal.
Oh my God.
We have
just a pal.
No, very special guest.
Oh my God.
Writer, improviser, one of my favorite improvisers of my whole life. I've complimented him about this many, many times. I've known him for many years. This is Mark David Christensen is going to be joining us. Did I pronounce your last name correctly? Christensen?
I'll take it. I mean, if my dad was here, he'd be like,
it's not Christian.
Son. He'd say son. S-O-N.
It's not Christian.
Because the majority is E-N's out in the world, and we're O-N. So
you're Owen. Christian's
yeah,
son. Christian's son. Great.
But
Mark
I was
David.
fine with the pronunciation.
Okay,
That's what
great.
I'm saying.
Dave.
But Dave, we can call me Dave, and you you can call me Dave. I know it's confusing.
No, but Dave's great.
By the way, it was really funny when you walked in because Mark, our producer, and you were like introducing them. You're like, Mark, this is, and you like,
and my brain short circuited. I'm like, this is also Mark.
I was like, he brought
also
a guest
Dave.
and he doesn't know what his fucking name is. And they're like, this is also Mark, and I was like, oh, I see. He's trying to.
Well, I've never met Hector. And
no, we actually just hung out a couple nights ago.
We did.
We went and did some improv here in LA at an improv jam.
Yeah.
And
Did you take him home after to watch a 3D movie?
Close.
He tried.
Better, even better. I took him to a taco shop.
Oh, that is even better.
We just had tacos, and we were talking about movies, and we were talking about Mission Impossible. And this dude schooled me in Mission Impossible.
I came hard after him.
Like just arguing with me.
I was like, how dare you even bring this take?
When we learned that Augustine was going to be able to make today's show, I said, I think I got a guy who's going to be able to come in. And so we're definitely going to talk Mission Impossible. That's why I brought Dave. That's what we're doing.
I have to rehash my conversation.
Perfect.
You have
I'm sure he told you we're in the middle of rewatching them.
Yes.
Yeah.
I did. So at the time of this recording, we've rewatched up past 3.
Yeah.
And our next one's Ghost Protes.
Yeah.
Which is my personal favorite.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, there can be arguments for why other ones are better, but that is my personal favorite.
Yeah.
Well, something interesting that you said when we were watching Mission Impossible 3 was that the first 3 have such distinct styles and they feel so unique that you can kind of tell them apart easily.
Yeah.
I don't know about Ghost Protocol because I haven't seen it in like 10 years.
Yeah.
But I do feel like once you get to Rogue Nation, the next 3 start to kind of blend together a little bit. And I wonder if it's also because they're all the same characters, the same director, as opposed to the first 4, especially those 3, because we just rewatched them.
They feel like an anthology series. And then Mission sort of converts. It goes, no, this is a franchise with like one after the other sort of installments. But yeah.
I mean, to add to that, Christian McQuarrie did come in and do rewrites to help for Ghost Protocol. So his
and we got a move here from producer Mark is saying that Mission Impossible 2 John Woo equals trash.
Well,
and
get a new take.
No,
that's a universal take.
I know. Well, I was gonna say this is funny too because I wanted to talk. We'll actually let's do that now. Let's get the Mission Impossible talk out of the way.
Okay,
because we
already are in it.
We're in it. So
that fuse has been lit.
I was thinking about it on the drive over, and I'm like, well, my hot take is this is the conversation that Mark and I were having. Dave and I were having Saturday night. Was that like Mission 1 is my second least favorite. Mission 2 is my least favorite. But saying that, I feel like is not a controversy. I feel like most people, although I know a lot of people that dislike Mission Impossible 3, directed by J.J. Abrams, and they'll move that under in the ranking to the original Brian De Palma. So I understand there's like a little bit, but I feel like most people would kind of agree that Mission Impossible 2, the weakest of all of the missions. I don't know people who like sincerely love 2 as their favorite. I know people who ironically love it. It's a silly goose time.
I don't know if Augustine ironically loves it. I think he just genuinely loves that movie.
He's not here to he's not here to defend that movie. Augustine loves it because it's early 2000s trash, dude.
In my own personal rewatches, I own them all, at least digitally.
Yeah.
And I understand why it is considered, as the producer Mark said, trash.
Yes. Yeah.
I understand that take because some of the story is like very like it's goofy.
Yeah.
Like it's goofy,
very soap opera, very cheesy.
Yeah, cheesy.
Telenovela.
Telenovela.
And there's just like there is like more so than the other ones, in my opinion, or of the two that are like the oldest.
Yeah.
There's very Robert Town, early 2000s, flat out sexism in it.
Yes.
That is like bad.
When
like
Anthony Hopkins is like, what else does she need, Ethan? She's a woman. Like when he's like, how's he going to be able to infiltrate,
like,
how's he going to be able to trick this? How's she going to be able to trick this man? And Anthony Hopkins is like, she's got all the training she needs. She's a woman.
Yeah.
Like
that.
What the boo?
Right. That.
Yeah.
And there's homophobia in the villains. Fully.
Yeah.
They're like, they just hint at that classic thing of like, well, if they're gay, that means they're bad. And you're like, give me a fucking break.
Yeah.
And then the one bad guy gets punished in the sense for that.
Right.
To some degree.
Right.
And so I get that there's and all the bad things.
This is the same argument we're having for Mission 1, where I'm like, the things I don't like are the things that are dated. And Dave was like, I don't know what to tell you, Hector.
But-
the movie's from
okay,
1996. I'm like, I know.
I know. Okay, here's the
We have
difference.
this conversation a lot.
And this is a movie from 2000. I'm like, I know, but
here's the difference.
Yeah.
I will go to the bat for Mission 1 because I think it is a solid, great filmmaking, great storytelling. So those dated things don't
take you out of it.
They don't pull it out.
Yeah,
They don't pull the rug out from under. Whereas I think the things that don't work in Mission 2 do get in the way
stand out.
throughout.
Yeah.
But then I will go to bat. Like we talked about this briefly. I think that beach scene is over the top, but fucking awesome.
It's very fun when he kicks the gun and he picks up the gun
Dude, it's
leading to
amazing.
that.
on the bike and they jump at each other.
I have not seen the movie in like 20 years,
It's fun.
and I forgot some of those moments.
Yeah.
But when they are going at each other on the bikes and then jump toward each other
Awesome.
and catch each other midair, I was
Stupid.
like, wait a minute.
But
this
awesome.
is kind of
Producer
ridiculous.
Mark, do you disagree? Producer Mark? Okay, he's giving me a stare.
He's
I'm
ready
an
to jump
idiot.
off the building, jump off the roof.
If we look at it's so of its era of that
Yes.
early
Yeah.
2000s.
Right after Face Off too.
We are just, and I get it. We're coming. It's sadly it's coming out of it. It's like on the tail end of that stylized. But I think those elements work. And there are like what other
you know
moments?
what's funny?
It's just the soap opera aspect.
Yeah,
There's too
it's
many
a silly
masks.
goose
Yes.
time.
There's,
Yes.
like I think everywhere else after that they course correct and go, where do we use the masks
Yeah.
Appropriately.
appropriately? And I'm not gonna say like I don't like this like make it realistic. I'm like it's not realistic. The masks are not realistic.
Yeah.
Mission Impossible does not.
Makes sense.
I know.
But it also
Because-
does not live in our world.
Right.
Mission's in its own like parallel universe to us.
When they try to be realistic,
Totally.
when they try to be realistic with masks, what you get is what the original 60s TV show did, where they would introduce like a foreign ruler or a U.S. senator, and it would just be an actor from the TV show wearing a mask. It's like, I am Russian. And then the team would be like, you have to pretend to be him. And the guy was like, okay, I'll do it. And it's like, it's
I
the
am
same
Russian.
actor.
It's like the same guy.
But
the
I
first
don't
movie
think
is
it's a bad
tough.
thing.
No,
I
but
came to defense on this. I
but-
was like, I think that's just fun, good movie
Yes.
magic. That's how
Yeah.
you
And
use
it's-
movie tools.
Yeah.
it's realistic. But like I said, that's one thing that it's a dumb minor detail, but I don't think that Tom Cruise as an actor can pull off that Southern, he's made fun of. Emilio calls him Foghorn.
Foghorn
In
Leghorn,
the first
yeah.
Mission movie, but I'm like, that's so clearly Tom Cruise on this TV screen,
of
and
course.
now he's going to pretend. So, but then the opposite is, it's like I said, maybe they do it too much in Mission 2, but I think by Mission 3, like you said, they sort of course correct, which is, I love the trick of just swap it out with another actor.
Yeah.
So Mission Impossible 3 has Philip Seymour Hoffman running around like he's Ethan Hunt under
I think that's
a Philip Seymour
It's
Hoffman
awesome.
mask.
I love that sequence.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. So here was my argument that, and I know you're a lover of the Brian De Palma Mission 1. You like it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like it.
Okay.
Yeah. But also because it takes place in Prague.
That's true. Okay.
Beautiful.
Adam is
First
from
movie
Prague.
I think one of the first Hollywood movies to be shot in Prague.
I think you might be right.
In Czech Republic, probably.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think you
because
might
of
be
the
right.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, that's listen, we watch a TV show, Superman and Lois, and there's one
I fucking freaked out.
There's one quick shot where that Tyler Hoechlin Superman flies over Prague, and
It's
Adam
literally
like
24 frames.
Adam like
Oh,
teared
wow.
up. He was like, "My home, my country." Like he was
Wow,
so
that's amazing,
It was
Adam.
amazing.
My country.
Nazdravie.
I mean, that's wonderful. I love
It's great.
that.
Yeah,
but
it's
no,
cool.
I think when me, you, and Augustine watched Mission Impossible 1, which
Yeah.
by the time this comes out, is it on YouTube? The cut down version?
Yeah, it is actually.
So you guys can, if you
actually
haven't
no,
seen
it won't be. This
coming soon.
so this is on Monday.
Yeah.
The
Friday.
Friday it'll be out. Yeah.
So this Friday, after this discussion,
For all you logistics heads.
you
Yeah.
gotta watch it. People are figuring it out right now. But
Yeah.
when the three of us watched Mission 1, I feel like I probably did enjoy it the least. And I think like you and Augustine were like vibing with it and whatever. And when I was telling Dave on Saturday, I'm like, I don't like certain things about it. Dave was like, no, you're an idiot. It's a great spy movie.
I was calling you an
It's
idiot.
a great script. And I kept thinking about it because I drove home and I was like, I can't believe Dave called me an idiot. I'm not an idiot. I can't believe. So I
don't think you're
then
a real
through
idiot.
Sunday, then through Monday, and I went, I know, I'll bring him on the show. And no. So
Well,
here's,
I mean, look,
No.
I just think it's a solid movie.
Adam
and it's
knows
a good spy
Adam knows
movie.
this is true.
And we
God, I know
talked-
Hector so well that I'm
I know,
like, he would spend his whole weekend thinking about it.
Dave made great points. He schooled me. You did school
Look,
me.
and I don't know. I just came harsh on because I think I want to defend it. I think it's a good movie, and I think that we, as a culture of movie lovers, and just like I don't know what to call us, like that consume cinema, and content or whatever you want to call it. You were getting into the argument like, well, I like these ones better, and I'm comparing them. I'm like, okay, I get that.
Yeah.
But I wasn't, and I was not against it. I was like, yeah, they improve.
Yeah.
But also, I think a lot of times when that happens, we forget the thing that they're built on.
And or to judge that for its time.
You got to judge it for itself. And how does it function? And then the ones that are good are the ones I love, because I've told you, I was like Ghost Protocol and Forward to me are all flawless to me.
Okay, great.
That's my opinion. They're all flawless. I think they're great. But they're all still built on each other. What I love about that franchise in general is I don't think they negate anybody.
No.
They don't even negate 2, I think.
No,
That's just a little snippet in Ethan Hunt's life.
Yeah.
But they're not like that never existed.
In fact,
and that's what I love about the first one is because you even brought up like, oh, he didn't do that makeup, right? Or he didn't like that makeup trick of the foghorn.
Yep.
But I'm like, essentially they call that back in Ghost Protocol when he goes to Russia. He doesn't wear a full-on mask.
It's very minimal.
He's wearing very minimal makeup. They're
and
like
he's telling Benji, calm down, calm down.
calm down.
Yeah, that's right.
And I think that's great. It's
And-
not
I forgot about that. Yeah.
And I also pointed out that like the thing I don't like about 1 from a story level is that the John Voight character, Jim Phelps, I didn't buy his evil turn.
and I buy it 100%.
Sure. The
Old man who's like, I'm not needed, I need to have fucking money.
I know. And then plus I was saying, I'm like, but
Think of it also, think of this. Just put this on.
Yeah.
He's old and white. Makes 100%.
okay, now okay. He's angry at the.
and
Okay,
then
I
John
gotcha,
Boyd,
gotcha.
it like compounds.
John Boyd.
From Anaconda?
Yeah.
You're right. It's John
Makes
Boyd from
sense.
Anaconda. No, that's true. Because I was also, again, unfairly comparing it to like, well, that character, Jim Phelps, came from the TV show. And he was like the lead of the TV show, this beloved character. And I felt like the way that like angry Star Wars nerds would be like, you disrespected Luke. I'm like, you disrespected Jim Phelps.
Yeah,
like,
and you
were like, shut up, you incel.
I
And I
was
said,
like-
okay.
I was like, who cares?
Who cares? But even with my saying like I didn't buy the turn, almost every Mission Impossible movie since then has a member of the IMF going evil.
Yeah.
And they keep kind of coming back to that, whether it's, Billy Crudup's character in Mission 3, and then for a while you think it's Lawrence Fishburne, or like Henry Cavill, like all of these characters that at one point in the movie makes you think someone from the IMF could turn. And I feel like it has been.
You haven't seen Dead Reckoning?
I've seen it.
I mean, that I would say subverts that.
Yeah, you might. And I haven't seen it since it came out in the
Because
theaters.
that is almost setting up a new team of villains that are going.
Yes,
IMF.
it's true.
Yeah.
That's true. And I like the Syndicate and I like all that world building stuff. I'm just saying Mission 1, 2, and 3, for as disparate as they have felt like to me in the past, rewatching them with you, I'm like, actually, there is a little through line in here.
Yeah.
There's Ethan Hunt stuff. Like in Mission Impossible 2, that's the first one where you go, oh, he's like a thrill seeker. He's a guy who loves to go out and jump out of helicopters.
Yeah.
And then in Mission Impossible 3, that's how he meets Julia.
Yeah.
They jumped out of a helicopter together. It's crazy. And then
Yeah.
she's talking to her
Yeah.
friends about it, and you're like, oh, they're really they're not negating Mission 2. They're factoring it
it
in.
does honor all the history that it's built up.
So
Like,
yeah.
sometimes you think
Yes.
like, oh, they would ignore it. Like, no, they don't. They embrace it.
Yeah, nothing is ever, not even well, you've said Mission 3 is sort of a soft reboot. I agree.
Well, it is like,
It is a
but
soft
from like
reboot.
a from like
But
a tonal perspective,
yeah,
more
yeah.
so than like
So,
story.
here's
I
my-
100% agree with you, Adam.
Here's my last thing, because I've been stewing over this and thinking about
I can't wait to
Mission
hear, 'cause
Impossible 1.
Because I've also this is the difference
Oh
between
my
me. I've
God.
let go of the conversation. Maybe
No.
talk to my wife about it once.
No.
Because I was like, I know she loved Mission when we did
Yeah.
rewatches, and she's a TV writer, so she's
Yeah.
smarter than both of us.
Yeah.
And then I let it go, and then I
Yep.
love that he's just been thinking.
No.
Yeah, you need a t-shirt that just says "I live in stew."
Yeah.
And stew. I'm stewing in it.
and
My
you need to
girlfriend
get-
at home was like doing dishes like, you just need to talk to Dave again. Like, okay, I'll
That
have
is
him on the
so
podcast. No, I'm kidding.
Funny. You need to get a therapist just to go over
A movie therapist.
Yeah,
Yeah.
movie therapist.
Yeah, exactly. And the therapist is like, and this person is your friend? This David is your friend? I'm like, yeah.
And you arguing about movies?
I hate him. No. Here's my thing, because Dave schooled me on all of my dumb little minuscule points about why I dislike Mission 1. I gave it 2 stars. I know it's higher than
That's
a 2-star movie.
insane.
It's probably a 3 or 4-star movie.
Insane.
You do
Don't listen to
not
that.
want to go on
That's
Hector's
my own-
Letterboxd.
that's my
Trust
own-
me.
I follow him.
That's my own like way to say, hey, this is well made, not for me. I don't vibe with it. That's what I
think that's
my
a
thing.
3. And I think
Okay,
that's
that's
a
fine.
3.
That's
Because a
fine.
3 is, I think, a respectable, like, not for me, but it's well done.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
2, I think, is you're leaning into, in my opinion,
In an insult.
an insult or
Yes.
incompetence.
Like
is-
missing something.
Yes.
Sure. But I don't do letterbox
and
things
that
as
movie's
like,
not incompetent.
no, it's not. But I don't do them as like an objective, like this is objective.
For
I
sure.
do it for my
I
own
can't
personal.
do that.
Anyway,
either.
the
I don't
point
even
is,
rate mine anymore. So
here's what I have landed on is that even though the script is spy, twisty turny, masks, like everything is pretty well like thought out and stuff. And I know that my previous points were like, well, I prefer the team version of Mission Impossible, which we kind of got more later.
For sure.
I prefer the sort of stunt spectacle. I prefer the way they use all that. Those
and I
unfair
would also
comparisons.
say I
Yes,
do too,
too.
based on my love of Ghost Protocol and onward.
Here's what I come back to is I don't like the way Brian De Palma directed this movie.
Why?
I don't. I think it's boring. I think that he just did it in a boring way. And I know that boring is another person's like tense, tension. When we rewatched it, there were certainly moments that were tense. I mean, you can't deny the Langley sequence where he comes down and like all that stuff is pretty well done. And even though modern movie viewers might watch it and go, there should be music in this sequence. Like I like taking out the music and having it be silent so you can feel all that tension.
Yeah.
But the opening sequence where you're kind of just panning in on the TV screen and you don't exactly, with that little mission that goes successful and then like you cut and there are sequences where coupled with Danny Elfman's score, which I don't think is the best. I prefer the scores later, what he does and doesn't do. But I just found that Brian De Palma does it in kind of a boring way. And I think it could have been more exciting.
I think you're fucking wrong.
Okay, great. Let the team up begin. Double team, go.
Drop
Tag
a lot
out.
of F-bombs because this is a heated conversation. But again, I don't find any aspect of his direction of that movie boring.
Okay.
I could see how some other people, it's not for them. So I'll 100% respect that. But I think you like Brian De Palma. Because I had a friend, I'm not going to say names, but I had a different friend that told me via a text thread that I have with 2 other guys that we talk about action movies in general. And he told me that Brian De Palma doesn't know how to do his job. And I was like, you are out of your mind. Like, you need, what movies are you even citing for this? Because just because he is very influenced by Hitchcock. That's his thing. He's like, you can feel it in almost all of his shots. It's him, but he's filtering it through a modern gaze. Like he's bringing sexuality into a Hitchcock and so forth. But that's what I like. And I think for the genre that it is at the time, it's not
action yet. It's spy.
It is not. It has action.
Yes.
I love the last action scene. I think that's I think it's a huge iconic action scene. That and the train and the knock list.
Yeah.
But I think that's just a taste thing versus I can't come to you and be like, you're an idiot because I'm like, if that's your taste and you don't like Brian De Palma, you can own that.
Yeah.
That's fine with me.
Yeah.
But then I would be like, if you think he's boring, I'd be like, go watch Blow Up.
Sure.
This movie's incredible.
Go watch Carrie. Go watch.
Carrie. Like there's ones, I think Carlito's Way is his best movie of all time.
Okay. How do you feel about The Untouchables? Because that's a lot
I
of
think
people's
it's good.
favorites.
I like it. It's very, I think you'd probably maybe feel the same about like Mission in a sense.
Sure.
And maybe I would feel a little different. I haven't seen it for years, but I wouldn't send you there first because I think it's like a dad movie. It's like a really, it's in the, I would put it in the
You saw some of the last episode. We like being dads. So
I did listen to that, even though the majority of you weren't.
We're not fathers. But
That's exactly right. Yeah.
No one at this
I think
table.
that's the interesting thing about Mission Impossible, though, because I agree. I like that first movie, and I really feel like Mission Impossible turned into an action series after after 3, but even more so after 2, because it's got a lot of action.
That's what producer Mark said. He went like this. He said,
but I also think a lot of that was influenced just by the other movies that were coming out at that time. Like The Matrix came out the year before.
I know,
and everyone was trying to make these like epic action films with crazy camera works and slow motion. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon had come out. So I also feel like I can watch Mission Impossible 1 and understand the context that it was made in terms of like
Sure.
what other movies came out.
Sure.
And like 1994, what is another movie in 1994 that came out that you would say that's like a super crazy huge action film?
Right.
Like I don't know off the top. What'd you say?
GoldenEye. That was 95.
Well,
95. But
Martin
GoldenEye's
Campbell at
a
his
great
high.
example.
Well, and that's the
Great
other thing that
example.
I was going to say too is like I feel like Mission Impossible took notes from what the Bond movies were doing.
Yes.
And was like, oh, okay, I think if we want to stand out a little bit more and
We need the big spectacle.
pull more people in,
Yeah.
we got to be a little bit more spectacle. Not saying that the Langley sequence and that the train sequence isn't, but they definitely peppered in way more action in the sequels.
I agree.
Like MI3 is a nonstop.
It is.
Yeah.
It doesn't
I agree.
fucking end. It's
Yeah.
just action, and it's all great. I love it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think that was the big thing with Mission Impossible was Tom Cruise got more hands on. He wanted to do more crazy shit,
Mm-hmm.
and it became more of an action franchise than a spy franchise.
100% agree with that. And also, I think it is Mission Impossible is Tom Cruise's first producing credit.
Yeah, the
Mhm.
first
The
mission.
first time
Yeah.
he produced a movie.
Yep.
I think that movie is built on full knowledge of them going, we can do what we can do with the budget
Mm.
to kickstart something.
Mhm.
You can't.
Mhm.
I think a lot of people think that you go into like these franchises, like fans online. Sorry, that are like. That's why again, it's back to my argument of like I hate when we like get to a third that's like balls to the wall, like
Yeah.
John Wick 3,
Yeah.
which I love, and it's balls to the wall, and you're like, wish the first one was like this, and I'm like,
That's not. You don't
yeah.
start there. You don't start there.
you
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah.
Because if you watch this movie without any context, you would be
Yeah.
like, what is this?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't do Fast 5 without Fast 1 through 4.
Yeah, you have
Right.
to build a world to be able to earn the trust of me, the audience,
Right.
to be like, I'm down, and I
Yeah.
and I care about the character enough to put them in these. And that, I think that's even if not even action. I think
Yeah.
if you're making, I recently watched Bridget Jones's Diary
3?
series.
Oh, the whole series?
I think we need to finish 4 because we had to
Okay.
stop for some reason.
Okay.
Which so far, great.
Okay, great.
And like the first one is incredible.
Yep.
It does like a Mission 2 thing where it swings too hard for the wrong stuff. Has some
In the second
there's
one?
a Thai prison in it, and it's very
Oh,
questionably
no.
bad.
In Thailand? Oh,
yeah, she
no.
goes. It's so the second one
Whoa.
is so bad. it
Oh my
dips,
God.
and then she ends
Oh,
up in a
no.
Thai prison, and it's crazy. Spoiler alert! But it's like it has some very.
Bridget Jones?
Yes.
What
Holy
the fuck?
It's so bad. It's so bad.
We gotta watch
We're
those.
adding these to our
You
list.
should
we
have
gotta
them.
watch them.
They're great.
Yeah.
First one,
Yeah.
perfect movie.
Yeah.
Great.
Perfect rom-com movie.
Second one, big swing.
Second one, big bad swing.
Thailand
swings
prison.
and they get out all wrong.
Oh, no.
Okay.
There's the comeback
one.
with third, the baby.
Best one?
Great. Not one best one. I think the first one's still
Okay.
the best.
Okay.
But it strongly comes back.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. And they let the characters age, like the actors age and look.
Love that.
And then that was half the reason I loved what I've seen of the fourth one
Mm-hmm.
was I was like, oh my gosh,
Mm-hmm.
all the characters are back and they're all their proper ages.
Mm.
This is beautiful, and I
Mhm.
love it. And like they're playing their character games and everything. I'm saying game like UCB comedy language, but like their
Yeah.
character traits are all there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's beautiful. It's why I'm going to slip in a little hot, little Marvel take here.
Okay.
My dream is that we don't see Thor for many years.
Yeah.
And Hemsworth comes back and plays him as old man Thor.
That's
We've
literally
my
what you
dream.
We've
said.
talked about this. As
Literally
like
what you
King
said.
Thor, as
Yeah.
King Thor,
Yeah,
doing
King
like
Thor,
a
that's what
like
but he has to be properly old. I
And
don't
he-
want them to age him up.
Sure,
Right,
I want him to be
right.
really
and it has to be a
actually
story
old.
that is set like 10,000 years from now. Like it has to be set in the far future, and maybe there'll be flashbacks with like he gets to travel back in time to the present, and the present is
Yeah.
now or whatever. I know, dude. That'd be
Those
a
are
great
my
take.
dreams because actors really age. And
Yeah.
Yeah,
when they,
and that's good. That's okay.
We talk about that stuff all the time.
We've all seen the substance. Okay, we don't want anybody to have to take the substance.
don't need that.
Don't eat it. Don't eat
But
it.
yeah, we talk about that all the time of like when they introduce characters, like when Marvel or DC introduces a character, they're also introducing an actor, and in 10 years they have to think about like how's this actor going to leave this franchise?
If,
Right.
if
Are
at
they
all.
dying, if at all? Yeah,
Yep.
like
Yep.
what's the longevity of this character and this actor? It's different when it's all of the young Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
They can go on for 20 years if they want to.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But like, yeah, how long will Pedro Pascal be Reed Richards?
I've thought about exactly that.
Yep.
Because I love Fantastic Four. It's one of my favorite comic book characters.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited because I do think it looks good. But I've wondered that too. I'm like, you're introducing them so old to me, and I'm like, how am I going to get that?
Well, that's
and
a
that's
little-
a good question. That just
Yeah.
in the back of my head, I have to like turn off to
That-
just
that-
go see the movie. But I go,
Sure.
how are we going to get to where like we got so much of Iron Man in his
Right.
aging.
10 years. 10 years.
Yeah, and it's like, how old is Pedro in real
Yeah.
life?
50 maybe.
So
No.
we're
going to go to 60.
So Fantastic Four in 10 years is
No.
60? He's got to be.
48,
He's up there.
49,
Really?
45.
He's up there.
I'm looking right now.
Well, I'm glad you brought that
now
up.
these
'cause
days you could be 50 and fucking fit.
this is a little, that's true. That's true, right? Tom Cruise,
Wow, he's 49.
he's 49.
Well,
I thought
yeah.
he was like
No.
early 40s.
He looks great. He looks
He
great. Looks amazing. But
my sister and her kids are obsessed with
yeah,
him.
obsessed. But Tom Cruise is now older than John Voight.
John Voight was
in the first Mission Impossible,
Yeah.
and he's still the physical lead of the thing.
Yeah.
Whereas John Voight in the first one was like, "I'm old. I'm staying in here.
I'm
You
gonna
go
put
do
on a,
this."
I'm gonna
Right
put
on
on
the
a
bridge.
jumper and we'll crawl on a plane.
Yeah, he looks 75 in that movie
He
compared
looks
to Tom Cruise.
ancient in that
Yes.
film.
He
But
does.
bringing that up specifically with Reed Richards is interesting because I feel like there's a bit of a controversial take on one or the other. Where in comic books, Reed Richards is introduced in the first Fantastic Four comic in the year 1961 in our world, and he already has graying in his
That's
temples. And Sue Storm is supposed to be like 10 or 15 years younger than him.
That's
Like
gross.
It's gross. Like, and at one point in the comic books, they reveal that Reed was in college when he first met Sue, and she was 12.
Problematic.
And problematic. And they met because her dad was like either a teacher or something, and like Reed as a college student was crashing in their house, like renting a room. And so he met. They didn't date when she was 12.
Yeah, I remember this.
But it's almost like an Indiana Jones Marion situation where you're like, okay, y'all met this young, and she kind of maybe had a crush on him, but then it was years later, and she's obviously older than 18 years old,
Yeah.
maybe in her 20s. That then he was either like a college teaching assistant or college teacher, and then she was now the student or some weird thing like that.
Yeah.
For some people, some comic book fans are like, I want him to have gray in his temples and be kind of older than Sue. That's almost part of their dynamic in a way.
Right.
Some people see that as going, that's why he's so absent-minded and da. Other people go, have them be the same age and have them both be in their early 20s, like Ultimate Fantastic Four comics, almost like the Miles Teller version.
Right.
So I feel like there's two sort of,
I'm fine if they have
Camps.
an age gap, but it
Okay.
just can't be like grotesque.
I know.
You know what I mean?
25 years, you're like, no.
Yeah,
And
no,
I
thank
think
you.
if he's 49, how old is Vanessa Kirby? Let me ask that question.
She's
She's got to be like
probably
mid 30s. I bet you she's
Probably
like
our age.
35.
Actually, the Mission women are older than
they're-
you think.
yeah.
Everybody
Yeah.
keeps
They just
thinking they're
look
younger.
amazing.
No, they're
Yeah.
older.
Yeah.
Oh, she's 36. She's
36.
younger than I am.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's again, that's like more than a 10-year
Yeah.
thing. But when you get to 36 and 49, they're both adults and whatever.
At some point, I also think the age thing. Once we're past like
Yeah,
to me in your 30s, I'm like,
Yeah.
that's up to you.
yeah.
That's up to
As
you.
long as it doesn't become.
I might judge it from afar.
Sure,
but it's
sure.
up to you.
But
Yeah.
as long as it's
Pretty
not,
much.
no, I'll judge it, and I think it's gross. Speaking of Mission Impossible 1, Claire and Jim Phelps.
Oh yeah, it's the worst.
gross. It's so gross.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
with his wrinkly skin and old balls. Ugh.
Yeah.
Terrible.
I mean,
Okay,
it makes no sense.
Okay, it makes no sense. Okay,
But
at
it's
least
just it's clearly just casting at the time where like we can't
Yeah.
have a
yeah, this is what we talked about
but
on
Hollywood
Saturday.
still has this issue
Yeah, I
know.
of men being in relationships with their
Younger, yeah.
with even a equal age. It's just Hollywood. It's
I
just
know.
their. I mean, even what's her name? I forget the writer of Something's Got to Give.
Mm-hmm.
She's literally writing about that, and that still is still a
Still a
problem.
thing. Okay, so that's Fantastic Four. That's Mission Impossible. That's the
But
substance.
well, I wanted to say real quick.
One more thing.
About the graying.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
if Steve Martin's hair can go gray so young
At
so
25
can
or whatever.
Reed's
Yeah.
hair.
Sure,
and
sure.
if he's like
Yeah.
that obsessed, he clearly is going to go just stressing about solving an
I mean,
equation.
let's be
And he's not
honest.
going to dye it brown. He doesn't
Yeah.
care.
No, he doesn't
Well,
care.
and you also like
He's a
think about
scientist.
like in real life, there are a lot of people who
Yeah.
by the age of 21 like have gray or are bald.
Yeah,
like that's
exactly.
just
Exactly.
how
It's
it goes
not
for some
odd.
people.
It's not a big deal.
No,
it's not a big
not.
deal.
It's really not.
Anyways, all right. That's 30 minutes. That's
wow.
that's enough.
Yeah.
That's enough because that audience that tuned in for Daredevil is really mad. So
Sorry. So sorry.
at least we gave him some Fantastic Four. But let's talk Daredevil. So Adam and I
Good luck.
have seen.
Good luck getting it like in on this conversation.
No, because
Because we're about to ruin it.
we're
for
about
you.
to spoil it.
Oh yeah, you are. Okay, I'm looking down the barrel. I
Yes.
think I am giving consent today.
This is your Mark, Dave. This is your
The
single right
middle
here.
one?
No, this one here.
Oh,
this is your
one.
single.
Oh, so sorry, folks.
Yeah.
I, Mark David Christensen, on March 3rd, 2025, give consent to Adam and Hector to spoil the first 2 episodes of Daredevil Born Again. I
you
have
go.
agreed. I have actually pitched this to them.
did. He
That
did.
it'd be fun
He
for
did.
them to spoil it and have me have honest reactions to this.
Yeah.
So you cannot be mad at them.
Yeah.
You cannot be mad at them for spoiling me.
We'll tell you guys also where the spoiler talk is. I want to start with non-spoiler talk.
Yeah.
Okay. Adam and I also saw the entire
All 9
Daredevil
episodes.
Born Again season, the whole season, which is
you told me that last
Yeah.
a couple days ago, and I was blown away, and I was like,
Yeah.
how can I get a hold of that?
Yeah.
But I'll wait.
I think it, well, first, I think it bodes well that Marvel Studios, Marvel Television, Disney, that they're all like confident in the show. They're like,
I love that.
We want to have people that are reviewing the show, critics or reviewers, whatever. Here's the access to the whole thing versus saving anything for the end or whatever.
Actually, not very rarely. I don't think that's ever happened before
Yeah.
that we've gotten an entire season.
Confident in the beginning, middle, and ending of the season.
Right.
Also, I want to get into non-spoiler talk with like, Dave, sort of your relationship to this version of the character, because you're also a big Daredevil comics fan.
Yeah,
correct?
I think in general I'm a
Yeah.
big. I don't think I've read everything.
Yeah.
I'd love the Bendis run. I think that is unreal.
He's a creative consultant on Born Again.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Because I really do love the tone of his, because it has the heaviness,
Yeah.
but it also it's heavy. But it's not. I don't know. There's something. I just think his writing in that run is beautiful,
And it's very like courtroom drama, correct?
Yes, and I love that.
Well, guess what? That's in the show,
That's in
baby.
the show, baby.
I
That's
love
in
that.
the show.
I like, if you're gonna give somebody that kind of profession, I want to see them do it. I was telling you,
Yep.
I love a person who's has a competent job.
Mm-hmm.
Did I say that word right?
Mm-hmm.
And
You said it competently, yes.
Your Honor. But then also is a superhero. I think that is fun. I don't want to watch them be like, I'm bad at my job, or I don't get to see them do that.
Yeah.
And then have to have another life. That's a fun balance.
And I also think that's part of the point of the Daredevil character is that he is a good lawyer. We even saw this we rewatched the Ben Affleck movie a couple weeks ago, and the director's cut. And it's like they tried to put that, like, he's a good lawyer, but the system is broken and corrupt.
Right.
And it's when that happens that he goes and kicks somebody's ass at night.
Right.
Or in the case of the Ben Affleck movie, kills
someone.
Like, lets him get cut in half by the train.
Yeah. The C train.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
I
and he
never
did-
saw that movie.
Dude, you should watch it.
I'll watch it. Yeah, I've
The
never
director's
seen it.
cut is good.
It's interesting, but
Yeah.
no, it's a fun time. But yeah, so
By the way, folks, I never consented to them spoiling Daredevil.
oh, sorry.
Ben Affleck.
No,
Cancel the
the 2003 shit, dude. We owe you money. I'm so sorry. So overall, non-spoiler thoughts is I really loved Born Again. I thought that they
Right.
basically nailed it, and I think that it's very, very close to what people loved about the Netflix show. But we've also talked about this. The Netflix show, each of those seasons was 13 episodes.
Yeah.
And it would feel somewhere in the middle like, okay, this is a little bit of a lull. Like they only had a certain amount of budget. It feels like this show has a bigger budget. With
Cool.
nine episodes, it feels paced much quicker paced.
Right.
So I'm appreciative of all that. And I also think that some of because I know, Dave, your take on the Netflix show.
Oh, he
is
did
that
a pointing finger. You're in trouble.
You said this, and I quote.
I wish you did have a quote.
I know, that'd be great. But we've talked about how like the Netflix Daredevil show and those Defender shows may have been a little too dour. May have been a little too trying to be gritty and sort of edgelord and violent and extreme, and versus the Daredevil character and to a degree Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist. Maybe not Punisher. They have levity in their stories in the comic books. They're they're a little bit more comic booky and superhero-y. And that's not a bad thing. I think Born Again injects some of that in there.
Right. And I'm not saying Daredevil, even Bendis's run is not like, there's not like these classically funny comic book moments or humor by any means. But I feel like sometimes it's not even levity I'm looking for. It's that
hope.
It's that hope is a great way to put it, where there's hope. There's a relief from some of there's nothing worth a damn.
Yeah.
And also, I don't know, the thing that drove me nuts the most was that I got excited for Daredevil. I want to put that on the record. When those
2015,
all
in 2015,
those series when they rolled out, I was so excited for them.
Yeah.
And I remember watching all of season 1. I don't think I was in love with everything. Season 2, I gave a try. It was rough. Season 3, I never watched. I was just sort of checked out. And also, I gave the Defenders a watch. And that's where it really hit me. What I was disliking is that all 4 of those characters were heavies. And I was like, you can have moments of heavy, but why isn't Iron Fist annoying and funny?
Yeah.
And with Luke Cage being like, shut up.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There was no real good banter
a little bit
between
of that.
them.
They had a little bit of that exact thing in Defenders, but not enough.
But not enough.
I hear you.
And then Jessica Jones needs to be like a character who I'm like, there are moments of trauma that I loved. I love season 1 of Jessica Jones.
It's great.
I mean, the only note I have for it is that scene where all the people are on the bar with the nooses. I was like, this feels like Batman from the 70s.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, what is this? This is goofy as hell. The purple man's like, I'm going to have them all on
yourself.
nooses. I was like, what? What is this? Like, just have them shoot themselves. Like, this is a gritty world.
Right.
But I'll digress. I still loved that. Season 2, I think I didn't make it all the way through. I was like, it was just...
I did not even know that there were multiple seasons of those shows until like a month ago.
Yeah.
Jessica Jones had 3 seasons. Punisher had 2.
Oh my gosh.
And
Did Luke Cage and Iron Fist have 3?
2 each.
2.
So I get it. I'm biased. I don't have full opinion other than probably what I got through.
That's fine.
But I was very excited for them. It was mostly just a lot of the dialogue in Daredevil scenes I felt like were always a little too long. And that's, sorry if you wrote for it. A lot of times I'd be like, I got the purpose and the point of the scene, and it would like then it would be
30
like
seconds ago.
Yeah, it was like, and I was like, they're just like grinding this down to the same thought, and I was like, what? And him being a martyr was so every moment where I was like, but where's Matt Murdock as like just a human being versus just I'm a martyr. And then I think I think that leaked into a lot of the other characters as well.
Sure.
Yeah, because they feel like I think they felt that formula was successful, so they didn't apply all.
Yeah, I agree. And even when you got to see the 3 at the bars and stuff, I didn't feel like it felt as like two like friends. And there's an argument.
You're talking about Matt, Foggy, and Karen.
Yeah, and there's like a specific moment with Foggy finds out that he's Daredevil that I think I'm just like, you're wrong, Foggy.
Whoa. Like, the way he reacted?
Yeah, his reaction, I'm like, this doesn't sound like a human friend.
Wow.
This sounds like the writer. I can hear the writer's voice.
I see.
But then I would say we talked about this, the biggest disappointment for me was the death of Ben Urich. Because I think he's one of the great, I think his acting is great. I think the character's written really well in Daredevil. And I thought that was just like, it felt like for shock. It was a very brutal death. And it was like, it didn't do anything for me where it was like, now this show is serious.
Yeah.
Like a Game of Thrones moment where you're like, everybody's on the like, it felt
more like
just
a shock value.
Yeah, it was like, and it's not like a character where in other franchises and things where you go like, oh, I get why they need to go because it will emotionally affect me as well as the main character.
Yeah.
Him, it would just felt like a shock, and you're just getting rid of a character that I think is more so than these superheroes is sort of the glue or like the grounding of the street level superhero.
Yes.
He's the guy, speaks for us, and he's like...
He's a reporter for the Daily Bugle.
Wow, look at this world we're now.
He's played by Joey Pantoliano in the Ben Affleck movie. Very good also. I really liked him.
Yeah, he's totally
Ben Urich. Yeah. But
Spoiler.
I agree. I wanted him to maybe someday meet Peter Parker, or at least for that Ben Urich to go and interact with Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Danny Rand. I think that would have been great. Okay.
It's really interesting hearing you bring up the writing and how sometimes it would just linger too long.
Yeah.
Because I know that the current showrunners talked about that, and they
really did?
They got dragged online when they brought that up. And I was under the assumption that they were talking about the original version of Daredevil Born Again, the one that got scrapped.
Yeah.
But I guess they were talking about the Netflix version, which kind of surprised me because I think I also may have had those thoughts, but I don't think that I haven't revisited those shows in recent years to really like fully articulate that opinion.
Yeah.
But I do feel like that was part of the lull was 13 episodes. And by episode 7, I was like, just get to the finale.
Listen,
I agree.
However you feel about the show, I know people don't like it as much.
I still loved those.
I almost
seasons.
preferred getting through the one season of Defenders because it was only 6 episodes. Not 13. You know what I mean? I was like, we're
silly,
but
it was
moving. Let's go. Well, let's get to it. You know, Sigourney Weaver's in it.
I get that.
Awesome. But it was also really fun listening to Dave talk about all that stuff because as he's talking about it, I'm thinking about things from Born Again.
Yeah, me too.
Like, ooh, we got to talk about this, and we will spoil it for you. But
as I have consented.
Well, it's also tricky too because the current showrunners of Daredevil Born Again, and I guess they're also they're overseeing season 2, which they have just started filming or about to start filming, and it's going to come out next year. So heads up too. I don't think this is a spoiler, but like some things in this first season may or may not resolve by the end of the season. Just know that they're going to do a second.
Right, I can see that.
They're going
into
season 2, but it's tough because
that's normal television. If they're doing good television,
Yes.
that's all I want Marvel to do is good television. I don't think they've done good television yet. They've done good.
Which one's been your favorite so far?
I only have 2 favorites.
Okay, go ahead.
That is Miss Marvel and Hawkeye.
Interesting.
Oh,
usually
really?
it's Loki, WandaVision.
Yeah.
Usually those are the ones that...
No, thank you.
Wow.
No, thank you. WandaVision. No, thank you. No, thank you.
This is why I brought Dave, baby. He's got the hot
Loki,
takes.
I think, would have made a great movie, and I think it... Yeah.
Mark, you agree, disagree? That was a disagree stare? Disagree stare. Okay, great.
A lot of people
great.
disagree with me, and I'm
That's
okay
fine.
with that.
Just real quick, just to defend yourself and your honor, what's the one sentence?
It's fine. You guys want to like stone me?
No. We're gonna. What's your one sentence sort of reasoning behind like liking each one of those shows? I also like them too. I basically like them all, but I know I like certain shows more. I'm also a big She-Hulk fan. Nobody likes She-Hulk. That's fine. What is your... Okay, great. Mark like She-Hulk. What is your Ms. Marvel?
I think it's great that you all like him.
Great. What's your Ms. Marvel? Why? How come you liked it? Or think it's one of their better shows?
I think
or
it's
the best?
a great origin.
Mhm.
I think it's great. I think episodically I think I will say the ending. I'm going to start with the ending is bad.
Okay.
It's rushed.
Okay.
The finale is rushed.
Well, she's in Jersey.
I think it feels like a TV show,
Mhm.
and that's what I want. If you're going to make a TV show, I think it needs to it feels structured that way with really good cliffhangers
Mhm.
at the end. I think the main actress, whatever her name is,
Iman Vellani.
I think she's amazing as Miss Marvel.
Agreed.
It feels a lot of the critiques were people like the little I saw were like, it's like for children. I was like, I think you're wrong. I think that you're not acknowledging that this is a child character. They are essentially a child still.
Yeah, they're 16 or something. Yeah.
And I think the writing is perfectly tonally to that point of view.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think that they nailed it where you're like, it's a Marvel movie, but from this angle in that realm.
Yeah.
And I think the parents are two of the funniest characters
They
ever
are.
written.
Yeah.
Bro, the dad is in Daredevil Born Again.
That's what you spoiled that already for me, which I did not.
We all saw in the trailer. We saw. Okay, great.
But that I just loved.
Okay.
Hawkeye.
Yeah.
I don't think Hawkeye is a perfect TV show. I think it is good Marvel TV. I think it is good. It's a little lopsided at times.
Yeah.
But the arc overall, I really love.
Yeah.
I think the casting of Kate Bishop is one of my absolute favorites in the Marvel universe.
Yep.
She's a favorite character of mine.
Yep.
And I thought that growth, and I thought the like sort of that passing of the baton is like cool. And I thought it was just like heartwarming. They did a good job of Clint is wanting like. Again, about what we talked about, like it's nice when people honor stuff, even if one fan doesn't like it, I don't want you to ditch it. Even as I say
he
right
has
now,
a family. Yeah.
WandaVision I didn't like. Who gives a shit? But I'd like if they just honor what came before.
Because you're a big fan of the Hawkeye comics that they took inspiration from, and in those comics, Clint Barton is not a family man. He's a single young guy. So, but then they have the Jeremy Renner version, and they still incorporated he's got Cardellini is his wife, and he's got 2 or 3 kids, and he's trying to get home for Christmas.
Yeah, and I'm not one of those people that thinks that what I need to see on the screen needs to be what I read. I go to this great quote that somebody else told me about this. Ray Bradbury was at a Comic-Con once or a con or some sort.
Noted science fiction author, legendary author, writer. Yeah,
and a fan came up to him and was like, don't you hate that they've ruined the movies have ruined your books? And he's all, what are you talking about? My books are right here. No one's ruined them.
That's the best.
And I'm like, that is the best take. These things are adaptations.
Yep.
We can argue here forever if it's a good adaptation or not. But that to me has nothing to do with, did it do exactly what the source material did? But did it interpret it right? And that's what I thought was great. It's like, this Clint is not a single guy.
Yeah.
He has a family, but now we're taking those things into this. And I loved that. And it really worked for me.
Yeah, I love it. We might be upset that Ben Urich died because the comic book brain goes, I want to see this character's potentiality in the Marvel universe, but also the TV brain, like you said, is like, well, it was just a shocking death for shock value's sake, and Shall we get into it?
Mm-hmm.
Are we spoiling?
We're gonna go spoilers at the 45-minute mark. This might take us
strap in.
This might take us to the end. These first 2 episodes.
It might.
That's fine. I mean,
okay. Are you ready? This is the spoiler mark. We're gonna get into spoilers. For Daredevil Born Again.
And real quick, is Born Again based on the Frank Miller Born Again run?
No,
they just took the name to sort of reboot.
Right.
They did that story in Daredevil season 3, which you didn't see,
right? Because they brought back Bullseye.
At the end of Defenders, he
was Poindexter or whatever.
Right. At the end of the Defender show, Matt Murdock was thought to have died. He was crushed under the rubble of this building because this big the bones of dragons are under this building. Weird thing. He gets crushed. So did Elektra. But Matt Murdock gets found in the rubble and was nursed back to health by his mom, who's a nun.
Right.
Just like in the comic books. So then he spent months sort of building himself back up and training. And that was supposed to be the Born Again thing.
Hey, when they just rush like storylines that people love into it sometimes.
Yeah,
It
but
doesn't-
again, this is Netflix,
But whatever,
ABC
they do what they
television,
did. And if you loved it, go for it.
2017 or whatever. Like I don't think
Yeah.
they foresaw that they were going to be able to, they also already used Nuke for the Jessica Jones show. That character Nuke, he's in Daredevil Born Again, right? The dude with the American flag.
Yeah,
that guy.
Oh yeah. I liked the actor that was playing him.
Yeah, in Jessica Jones. He was good. Anyway, let's get into it, man.
Okay.
Opening of episode 1.
Oh my God.
Is there a fanfare scroll?
No.
No.
Like
Are they getting
Star
rid of
Wars? Or do you mean the
Marvel fanfare?
No, they do the Marvel television thing now.
It's
The little-
shorter.
Oh,
it's
that's
like 10
right.
seconds.
That's
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
Marvel
it's
television.
much shorter.
Thank
And
you
it's
for
kind of,
reminding me.
and I think it's kind of supposed to be WandaVision homage.
Yeah, I think
That's
so.
right,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Foggy Nelson gets killed.
From the get-go. Wow.
F1,
Look at
baby.
him.
F1.
Wow.
You know who kills him?
Who?
Bullseye. Benjamin Poindexter.
Does
Bullseye
he?
comes
Okay.
back, shows up in kind of a suit, but it's not really a Bullseye suit. It's kind
Yeah.
of purpley.
Bamboozling.
There's no target.
Oh,
Straight
I
up,
want-
like he steps outside and he's like, "Toof," and he's like shot. And
he
Karen is
gets
right
shot?
there. Bro,
Yeah.
dead.
Karen?
Dead.
Whoa, Foggy
Dead.
is dead.
Dies on the
Holy
streets.
shit.
And Matt Murdock as Daredevil chases this fool down. Hallway beatings.
Oh my God.
Bullseye's
Knives through everyone's
throwing,
chest.
throwing knives into Daredevil's chest.
And he's just going.
At one
Crazy.
point, he just has
Crazy.
12 knives like this, and you're like, what the fuck are we doing?
Here's one of my
All right,
favorite. I
he's
mean,
emotionally charged.
the
I love
stuff
it.
the stuff up to this point was also good and heartwarming. It's Foggy, Karen, and Matt, and they're walking to
At
a bar.
Josie's.
They're at Josie's.
So this is a direct jump off of season 3? Or is it
yes.
more of a
Continuation.
It is? Okay,
they're
cool. I just
all-
wanted to confirm.
They're all treating this like a
Yeah.
continuation of the original show.
Okay, great.
I don't think you even need to have seen like the show, but I think it helps that you like.
I think
you
it
know.
definitely helps.
Yeah.
And like I was telling that
Yeah.
him that I had only seen season 1 and 2. I don't think I saw season 3 all the way through, but I know that Bullseye is in it. He's like
Yep.
Right, I
one
knew
of the
that.
main characters. And I've seen some of the other shows, but I did not feel lost at all.
Great. Love
So
it.
like if you have that history and that context, great. You're going to be that much more probably invested. But even if you don't, you've only seen parts of it, you're fine.
Great.
Another moment that I love that I'm going to spoil for you and just ruin it is that when this happens, when
Yeah.
this attack happens and Foggy's targeted and he gets killed by Bullseye, Matt tries to beat the shit out of him, brings him up to the rooftop of this building. And Matt, while he's fighting for his life and fighting off Bullseye, because Bullseye is just relentless, he's hearing, of course, Foggy dying on the street out front, like a
Whoa.
couple floors below,
Yeah,
a
yeah,
couple
yeah,
stories
yeah.
below. And Karen is there trying to help him, and he's slowly dying, and Matt can't be there. And then when he hears Foggy go, he loses it and pushes Bullseye off the roof
Whoa.
to attempt to
Which
murder
is
him.
like in the comic, he fucking
And it was
And-
insane because we're
Yeah.
watching
because
it.
that happens in the
I think so.
comic.
I think so.
I haven't read it in a while.
Because we were watching it, and
Yeah.
Hector's like, "Oh my God, this is so intense!" And before he could even finish his sentence, Bullseye goes off the building, and Hector goes, "What?"
I was like, Matt
I
Murdock
love it.
just murdered somebody.
Yeah.
And there's another beautiful moment where Karen is there with Foggy when she hears a body behind her fall.
Yeah.
And it's Deborah Ann Wool. I think she's very good at this. She has lost it emotionally. She's sobbing. She's scared to turn around
no,
in
no.
fear that it's Matt's
Yeah.
body.
Right.
Daredevil's
That's
body. She
cool.
knows that Matt Murdock is Daredevil. And when she turns and sees that it's not him, there's like a relief, but it's also like my friend
friend died.
just died.
That,
And then
but also she realizes
my friend
Matt
murdered
him.
But
pushed him
then
Whoa.
he survived Bullseye because
Well, that's
of course he
Bullseye
did.
I
Of
was like,
course he
Bullseye has
did.
to. 'Cause
Anyway.
I mean, my only dream
Yes.
is that we get Bullseye in his traditional costume. That's all I fucking want.
I'm not going to tell
Because
you what's what,
the,
but
the Colin Farrell
Yes.
version and all that, I'm like, even
You don't like the snakeskin coat?
no, thank you.
All
they
right.
would,
I think
he's never seen the movie.
And I really
Oh,
hate that
that's
a lot of
right,
people
yeah.
like go, his costume was like goofy. We can't have it
No,
in movies.
it's
And I'm
awesome.
like, I want it. I
No,
love it.
yeah,
The idea of
lean
this
into
guy
it.
that's so nuts that he puts
Yeah.
targets on him is he's like, bring it, please.
Yeah, that's true.
On brand.
That's a great point. You know, and at the end of season 3 of the Netflix show, he doesn't get that, but he also gets hurt and barely survives because like Kingpin throws him up against a wall and like breaks his spine
Right.
or something. So Bullseye is almost like being rehabilitated, and there's some procedure that happens where then his eye, there's almost like a little bullseye in his iris, and people are like, "That's the homage to the," you know. But he didn't
Just
get
do
a,
it.
he didn't get a
Just
costume
do
in
it.
that show.
Cowards.
They didn't know if they were going to get a season 4, I guess, and at
Right,
that
right,
point
right.
they're canceled.
Yeah.
But all this to say, like, this is how episode 1, and also episode 1 was rewritten and reshot, and it's difficult
Yeah.
because the two showrunners.
And especially that beginning, the whole beginning of the episode was completely reworked.
They reworked. I was going to say too that those two showrunners were effectively brought in to kind of fix a show that wasn't working. So for them to say, it's tough because if they're being interviewed about stuff, what are they going to say? That all the previous versions of this character was working? No. They were brought in to sort of tweak this season, but they also, their job is to look back at like the Netflix show.
Yeah.
And you know, they have to be honest, and they're not going to say, oh, it was flawless. We're just doing season 4 of that. There has to be, you know, what are you guys bringing to the table or whatever. So this was episode 1. It kind of blew us away. Like,
that's the first opening.
That's literally the first 6 minutes of the show.
And then it goes into like the credits, which are like kind of like the Netflix credits.
A little bit different.
It's, you know, it's
like pieces of Daredevil's world falling apart and crumbling in stone.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the statue of Daredevil being rebuilt.
Born again.
It's really good. And then
what happens?
Give this away.
Go ahead. Is it just in the first 2 episodes?
It's literally right after the opening credits.
Go.
We jump 1 year later.
That's true. So yeah, and then get this, Kingpin's in the show. No, and
Matt has given up the mantle of Daredevil.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because
which
attempted murder.
Yeah.
He wanted to kill
He
Bullseye.
broke his code.
And
he broke his code. I got it.
So timeline wise, nobody cares. Timeline wise, I feel like this opening is maybe taking place somewhere in the year 2026. So let's say about a year after the events of She-Hulk and Echo, which was where we saw Matt Murdock and Kingpin last. Kingpin at the end of Echo was like, I'm going to run for mayor.
Right.
That's a good idea. At the end of She-Hulk, Matt Murdock was like, I just had sex. Like, that's basically
He's like, holy shit, I had sex with a Hulk.
Yeah, it was awesome. Anyway, back to New York. Bye.
My back is clearly, I'm like, my body's fine.
Yeah, I did it.
I'm a superhero.
So then sometime in 2026, this thing happens, Foggy's killed, and then when it jumps a year later, I think we're now in the year 2027 in the MCU, same year as Captain America, Brave New World. Like, I think they're happening kind of, you know, because it takes place, in fact, over the sort of, I don't know to spoil anything, but it's somewhere in there.
Aren't we?
I have no fucking clue.
But I might be talking about the rest of the season.
I don't want
to like the show.
The first 2.
This isn't a spoiler. The show is not 24. The whole season is not like happening in one day of Matt Murdock's life. Time progresses, and
and this is in the first episode, but you know, Kingpin basically becomes the mayor.
Yeah.
At the end of the first episode, and that's essentially New Year's Eve. So on January 1st, he takes office in the next year as the mayor. So.
Is episode 2 White Tiger? Like the beginning of White Tiger? What am I thinking of? What's episode? I'm blanking on what episode 2 is.
Yeah. It's courtroom drama. Yeah, because of everything that happens with White Tiger.
It's awesome.
And then it ends with Matt whooping the shit out of some cops.
Cool.
Yes, that's episode 2. You're right. Oh my god. So good.
Daredevil kicking the shit out of cops. I'm there for it.
The show also does not. This is not spoiler, but it does not shy away from having those conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You know this from
which kind of. I mean. Maybe it's because I'm a little spotty on the Netflix show, but I was almost a little surprised with like how parallel it feels with what we're going through.
Yeah, but also it's because what we're going through in real life, when Marvel Comics are good, they're reflecting that. And a couple of years ago, Marvel Comics reflected the fact that cops are taking on the Punisher logo.
Yeah.
And how the fictional character Punisher would feel about that. I'm not going to confirm or deny if that is addressed in this show. But the makers of the show are like, I think, aware of all that.
I love that.
So that's
cool.
sort of the flavor of what the show's trying to do in terms of being relevant. And look at Dave. Look at him right now.
I'm into it.
He's vibing. He's vibing. It's really good. So episode 1 and 2 were awesome, and episode 2 does end with this Matt Murdock trying to find a very key witness to something. And as the lawyer, and it's just because Matt Murdock has decided no more Daredevil. So when he goes to this person's apartment and sort of you're a key witness, helps them escape because all these other cops are going to show up to take this witness out.
Right.
Because the cops need this witness out of there. Murdock stomps them. And
is he fighting in a suit?
Yes. No, not in the Daredevil suit. In his
his lawyer suit.
Yes, in the lawyer suit.
Yes,
that's fun.
Yes, dude. It's great.
Yeah.
And the fight choreography throughout the whole season was pretty great.
Mm-hmm.
And is some of the CG a little spotty?
A little bit,
when Daredevil is doing very acrobatic-y things.
I mean, that happened in
She-Hulk.
Was it She-Hulk? He jumped up like and I was like, well, that was
but it's I would still say overall solid.
Yeah, and it's not my way of trying to defend, but I think like with our history of working on a lot of the Marvel movies and knowing how last minute a lot of stuff can be, especially with a show that came in. Or a show that started in one direction, and then the showrunners came in and overhauled the whole thing.
Yeah,
I have no idea how many episodes were shot and how far they were.
Right.
So I would imagine that some of that budget they couldn't really get it back. I'm sure Marvel still threw a ton of money at it, but there were probably some sacrifices made throughout the season to, redo what wasn't working and fix it. So yeah, there's some CG stuff that I'm like, it doesn't work 100%, but it's the story, the characters, the drama that really keeps you in.
I'll also say that I'm just so happy that CG is even being used in this show, in the sense that, like, I want to see Daredevil do kind of inhuman acrobatic shit.
He should.
Like, not to the level of Spider-Man, but like
He's like a Batman, though.
He's flipping around in the city streets in a way that,
I would argue like Spider-Man, to be honest.
Oh, yeah.
In the comic book, they can swing along with each other.
Yes,
I mean,
he can.
look at what I know we keep bringing up the Ben Affleck movie, but I was like, you know what? Some of that stuff looks really good.
Yes.
And it's not
some of it doesn't, but
some of the swing stuff was
the
really
2003
fun.
film, which you will have to watch for the first time.
Begrudgingly, I'll watch. I think it's on Max.
The director's cut.
Yeah.
But anyway, I did like that in She-Hulk he was at least flipping around, because that felt more like the Matt Murdock and Daredevil that I love from the comics and what his abilities are versus I don't think that the decisions to have him not do that in the Netflix show were creative so much as budget. They're like, we can't, this is a TV budget. We can't afford to have him wire work or replace him with a CG character or XYZ. But there's a couple moments throughout this show, Born Again, where like he'll jump off a roof and throw his grappling hook part of the Billy Club. And I'm like, this is sick. This is so sick.
That's
like,
cool.
That's all I want to see him do. And then he jumps off and swings, and then they cut.
Yeah,
and,
that's the fun of Daredevil.
Yeah.
I do think that it was a really smart move for them to drop those first two episodes, because I think the first one obviously sets the tone.
Yeah.
But I think the second episode really kicks off the story.
So it's sort of like a double pilot.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. And they're like an hour each. So it's like a 2-hour movie, basically. But what they do with that second episode with White Tiger,
and the White Tiger storyline.
Who is White Tiger again from the comics?
White Tiger is a character that I have a lot of love for, this character, because he's technically Marvel Comics' first Latino superhero. He was co-created by George Perez, who's an all-time comic book artist, who himself is a Puerto Rican guy, passed away a couple years ago. And White Tiger is Hector Ayala in the comics, and he's a street level guy, and he has a tiger amulet that gives him powers.
I read a short with him in the voice, one of the voices, Marvel voices.
But typically nowadays it's his niece that she's the new White Tiger. She was in an animated show at Ultimate Spider-Man along with Spider-Man and Nova and whoever else. So she's kind of the more mainline, and she's Angela Ayala. Or Angela Del Toro, actually, I think is what she is, because she's niece, so she might have a different last name.
Yeah, I think in the show she's Ayala.
Ayala, but they're cool characters with a lot of potential. But the neat thing about this is, I didn't fall in love with this version of this character because of like the costume or the powers. It's the actor that they hired, who has tragically since passed away.
Right,
passed away from cancer.
I'm talking about
before the show came out. I think he passed away last year, maybe the year before, because they filmed this a while ago.
I think it was 2022. You read.
Did he pass
when
away?
When you looked it up. Oh, no, it was 2023.
So 2 years ago. And I think he gives like one of the best performances in this season. And his storyline is so great. I could get emotional thinking about it, dude. Like his storyline, I told people, I'm like, end of episode 3, I nearly cried. Yeah. And I was watching it with my boys, but we let each other cry. But I was like, some shit goes down at the end of episode 3 that I was very, very moved. Kind of like a Brian Michael Bendis. It's the hope that we're talking about. There's courtroom stuff that's going on.
The courtroom stuff is so good too.
But it's
Holy
good,
shit.
Dude. Couple of little twisty turnies. We were like, oh, Matt Murdock's a good lawyer, dude.
You gotta have hope in Mark.
Yes.
Real quick to interject, did you read Mark Waid's run of Daredevil?
Some of it, yeah. And
I
it was
love it.
Really fun.
Maybe I'm mistaking which writer this is. Yeah. I'm going to contribute to Mark Waid. So we can, is when there's this issue where he's like on a bus with kids that crash it,
I think that was Mark Waid,
and then he like has to help them out, but then eventually the kids have to like pretty much get him to the finish line, because
they're like there's like a cave in somewhere maybe upstate New York, and
that's
or something,
what
some
I think
field
is
trip.
Like that whole other version is like missing that aspect of Murdock and Daredevil. It's like a hope.
That's a great story, man. That is a great story,
because
Matt Murdock, even with his powers, is helping these kids out of this cave thing. But then eventually they sort of have the sort of strength on their own. See, now it's making me think about some of Born Again. They may have pulled some inspiration from that kind of tone and that kind of feeling.
Because even Frank Miller, his insanity in Born Again, the comic, that movie's about him rebuilding Born Again. But like, there's hope. It's like he is at the bottom of bottom, and there's all this hope of getting back.
it's in
Good
case
storytelling.
people aren't familiar with that 80s storyline, it's that Kingpin gets the knowledge of who Daredevil's secret identity is. It's Matt Murdock, and then systematically destroys Murdock's life.
It's such a good story.
It's brutal. It's crazy.
I mean, what he does with
but
what's her name is the woman
Karen Page.
Karen Page. is
Yeah,
tragic.
yeah, it's very she has a lot of tragedy. So when people were talking about Born Again and going, oh, it's going to open with some tragedy, people were like, not Karen, because there's precedent for that in the comics.
Yeah.
But no, baby, it's Foggy, dude. This dude
Wow.
got murked. Foggy Nelson dead.
Can I be honest? I don't
Yeah.
really love the actor.
There you go.
I don't think he's a bad actor.
No.
Just not my.
And
I want a different.
And you were
Sure.
mentioning earlier,
I like-
Dave,
yeah.
as we're kind of wrapping up, you were mentioning earlier too, like if they're going to do a big swing or do something emotionally or kill off a character, like what is going to be the impact? What's the effect?
Yeah.
And I think Foggy Nelson is the heart of Daredevil.
That's great.
He is the heart of
I mean,
Daredevil.
yeah.
And when I think about Foggy Nelson, my comic book brain doesn't go, oh, but there's so much missed potential. I'm like, he's strictly kind of a Matt Murdock guy.
Yeah.
Right? Versus Ben Urich has kind of touched around other characters and everything and kind of affected other characters. So it was a like shocking move in a way, surprising, but also really makes sense. And I think it clearly sets up the story, what the show is going to be about.
Well, and I think, and I'm not going to talk about the future episodes, but I think that like doing that, it also, after watching the show, I'm like, I didn't really feel like there was much that Foggy could have done.
Right, if he were around.
Yeah.
It's just
right.
like, oh, you're Daredevil. That's wild.
Yeah, like I
I'll
think,
go do the research and stay up
I
till
think
3 a.m.
Foggy-
while you're out running around in the
Yeah.
street.
yeah, I think Foggy gives Matt the motivation throughout the story, and you find out how and stuff. But
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, we did it.
I will
Go ahead.
also pitch.
Go ahead.
If you have never read oh my gosh, I just blanked out his name. The Clerks director.
Kevin Smith.
Oh, Kevin Smith.
Have you read Kevin Smith?
I have. Controversial.
Why is it controversial? I think
Because-
it's such good. The Mysterio.
Yeah. But he also makes it's Karen Page. That's where Karen Page is killed off, right?
Yeah,
In the
by
Kevin's-
him, by his own
by
baton.
by Daredevil. Because Mysterio fools him. Jake Gyllenhaal shows up and he tricks Charlie Cox, and Charlie Cox, he's really sad.
wow.
And Mysterio is like a sad figure in that.
Really
And
pathetic. Really good.
Oh, I love it. I love that. Run. I love that story.
Yeah, that's a great
I
jump.
forget the name of it, but yeah.
Guardian Devil. That's the name of the
good.
story.
Very
Guardian Devil, not Angel. Guardian Devil. Some of that finds its way into the Ben Affleck movie. So you again, I guess watch it. I guess it's great.
Jesus Christ, we're just advertising this movie more
I
than
guess,
we are.
dude. Guys, thanks to our sponsor, 2003's Daredevil, directed by Mark Steven Johnson. Check out the
20th
director's
Century
cut.
Studios for
Thank you
sponsoring
so
our
much.
episode.
Thank you. 20th Century Video on Demand. All right, that's our episode. Huge thanks to our guest, Mark David Christensen. Christensen.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
Thanks for letting
Great
us
show.
spoil this show for you.
I
You
think
should come
it's
back
very
when we-
funny, and I think that was like the perfect thing to get a reaction.
Yeah.
To be like, oh,
yeah.
Oh shit! Oh shit! Okay.
and I agreed to consent.
Yeah.
You should come back when we do our review of the Final Reckoning, Mission Impossible.
dude.
Okay,
This
I
year.
mean, I'm a huge
That's
Mission
a
head,
great
so-
call. That's
I
a
think it'd
great
be
call.
super fun.
I mean, I saw the last one 3 times. I think
Yeah.
each of them I've seen multiple times.
Just one
I have to
conversation.
see if I love a movie. I see it.
Yeah.
I try to see it 3 times.
Nice.
One conversation with Dave made me even like Dead Reckoning Part 1 even more. I only saw it
I've
one time.
only seen it once too.
I'm really excited to rewatch it with you.
Yeah,
and then
same.
we'll have you back on after Final Reckoning.
yeah.
You got it.
And then at some point, I'm sure Hector will pull you in to watch Fallout in 3D.
Oh, that's already.
We've already.
Yeah.
He's been
That's already.
texting.
Yep, that's already in the works.
I agreed to
It's already
it.
in the works.
And speaking of 3D, do you want this take
Yes,
real
real
fast?
quick.
before we have
Last
to go?
take. Last take. Which
You
movie
got-
do you think the 3D is actually distracting and made it worse?
I'm strapping in.
Okay, James Cameron's masterpiece, Titanic.
Whoa!
Oh,
I think that
okay.
actually hinders.
Why?
It's
Distracting?
It's distracting to the
Wow.
eye. I think the movie is already a very perfect, beautiful
Sure.
movie.
And the 3D is
And
too
the
good. I
we
get
said
it.
we had
I
to
get
see it
it.
3D because my wife wanted to see it. She'd
Yeah.
never seen it.
Yeah.
We went like 2 years Valentine's
Yeah.
Day. That
Yeah.
loved it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, this movie's brilliant. She loved it.
Yeah.
But that only note was, I don't. Other movies, I'm like, I 100% agree. You could be like, I get why this is enhancing.
Yep.
That one, I was like, and he didn't like go in and like clean up the special effects. You're just slapping the 3D on it. I was like,
Right.
it's making the old dated
Yeah.
like
Stand out
CGI
a
look
little bit.
bad.
Oh no!
On a
Okay.
big screen.
Okay,
It was
okay.
just, it didn't enhance it. It didn't
Gotcha.
enhance it. And I think I would have preferred them doing a re-release remastered without the 3D.
I see.
I think they need to do both options.
I think
either
they
way.
did both, maybe, or
No.
was it did
we
Cameron
were
force
forced to
people
see
to do 3D? How about you and your wife come over and watch it on 3D Blu-ray on the TV? It'll probably look better than the big screen.
You can, if you want to convince her.
You got it.
I'm not.
All right.
I was expecting you to be like Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse.
I was
like, I'm gonna
scared.
flip
I was
this fucking
scared. Or
desk.
like you were gonna say Jurassic
I'm not
Park,
a
and I was like,
fucking nut.
okay, good. Okay, good to know. Good to know.
Lord.
He's a little nutty. He's not a nut. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Funny.
That's good. That's good. All right.
I don't have any like thing to say against that, honestly, because
Sure.
I liked Titanic in 3D. It was a fun thing to watch, and I had not
Yeah.
seen it since it was probably out in theaters.
You know,
so
yeah.
it was cool. But yeah, I'm not like, if you don't watch it in 3D, you're not getting the full experience.
I think you know what? I think I would have rather Cameron converted the first Terminator instead of Titanic. Out of all of his filmography, he was kind of picking and choosing, and I'm like, Terminator
Titanic
1
didn't need it.
maybe would have been more
One
fun.
guy
and-
falling off a rafter.
Whoa.
That's like the only 3D moment.
Yeah, now
that's
you're like, dang,
worth
he
it.
fell that far? I didn't realize how actually
Oh,
far
I
he
didn't
fell.
understand depth before.
All right, Dave. Okay. Okay, everybody, that's our
Yeah.
show. Guys, we'll be back next week talking about, we're doing our award show.
Yeah.
Reforges.
Sounds like you're gonna have an orgy.
Yeah, that's what it is.
We will. Something always wins that I'm like, our audience is nuts, but that's part of the fun. So
They're a
hope you enjoy.
nut. They're all of them nuts.
As they should be.
All right. Thanks
Thank
for
you guys
watching,
for
guys.
watching. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Heroes Reforged is gonna react. Heroes Reforged is gonna review. Heroes Reforged is gonna discuss. That's why we are watching.